once you start fucking around with Maya, you're never ever gonna want to fuck around with this shit. Just click. And, oh fuck. Great. My talk button does this bullshit. Alright, in Maya, basically you don't really have to look at all this shit. What you have to use is spacebar and your right click button. Spacebar will open this massive menu, and I'll show you and I'll explain after because I probably can't talk while it's open. When you create something, when you go to create something, you saw how there were the little squares to the right of the names and shit. That opens a dialog box that you can control how it's created before you create it. So you can control like how many divisions there are, blah 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 blah. Right now the menus are hidden on my other monitor, but I'll drag them over as I need to. This is obviously the dialog box for creating the pane that I'm creating. If you'd stop fucking messaging me on Steam, then you'd probably be able to hear me better. Once you create the shit in the dialog, you just click on the grid and it will automatically place it. It doesn't place it up or down, so you fuck with that afterwards. Alright, when you move shit, right now it's moving it by me holding the stupid push to talk button, which I didn't even know moved the shit in the first place, but there's like 3 shortcuts you can hold that will control how it moves, and I'll explain them as I use them. X, this is going to be the first one that I use, controls it to lock onto the grid points from the point that you're controlling it from. Apparently my middle mouse button or push to talk button fucked it up, so it's not really going on the fucking grid points for some reason. It's pissing me off. Next you can control it by vertex, which isn't going to do anything because there's no vertexes other than what's there, so you hold V to do that, and I'll explain that by quickly going into vertex mode, which I'll explain later. You use your right mouse button to do that. Now if I hold V, you'll see that it will lock on to specific vertexes. Same can be done with X for grid point. Yeah, that middle mouse button really fucked that shit up. Oh, because middle mouse button moved it off the grid. One sec. There we go, that looks a bit more normal. Now another way that you can control this, I'm going to have to click controls out of this, but if you hold control while moving on one of the axes, it will actually move it on the other 2. Right now I'm using the up arrow, but it's moving left and right and forward and back, not up and down. Oh, I can't even control Z that, so yeah, don't fuck around with your push to talk button. Oh, and wireframe is the 4, like your grenade button. 5 puts it into a different view mode, and 6 puts it into textured mode. Etc. 5 is smooth and 6 is textured. There's no texture obviously right now, so it just looks like smooth minus the... Alright, another thing you'll probably want to know is soft select. I'll explain that before getting to rotate and scale and shit. If I select these 2 vertexes, like I did, and then I go over to my tool selection here. There's this area called soft select. The fucking push talk button is really starting to piss me off. If you turn soft select on, you'll see that it like can control everything around what you have selected on a certain amount, like, and you can control as you see the fall off curve, and it's like a graph. That's how much each shit is affected up to the fall off radius, which is 5 grid points. You can make it more linear, etc., which would be like a straight curve instead of the wow. Obviously it looks like shit with this little geometry, so I'll increase the size pretty quick. Shit's bugging out. Alright, next is rotate and scale tool. I'm gonna go into face just because it will look retarded. And obviously I'm gonna turn off soft select. W, E, and R are move, rotate, and scale. Like W, E, and R on the keyboard. W for move, E for rotate, and R for scale. Right now I have my scale on this mode that controls it so it's not smooth, called discrete scale, and it does it by 25%. Obviously going to turn that off for the video. Pretty fucking blatantly obvious what this is doing. Yes, you can still use soft select with this. I'd suggest turning down the radius. The rotate, as you can see like the red, green, and blue, which are the 3 axes. If you actually drag on one of those lines, then you can control it by only that axis. And I have it on discrete mode with 15-degree rotations, which I'll turn off for now. You can also grab just about anywhere on this surface, or this sphere, sorry, and rotate it from there, and it will be very inaccurate and random. As you can see, that would never make any fucking sense in a video game, and you'd see the back surfaces and it'd all be fucking conglomerating out of itself. So yeah, you don't want shit like that. Next thing I'll show you is texturing. Actually, I'm just going to message you very quick on Steam so you don't think I'm dead. There you go, you jackass. I'm going to create this plane with like 2x2 sections. You don't really need everything to be like aligned to the grid the way that I do that. I just have a habit of doing it from being a map editor. But on top of that, you do want it for video games essentially, because obviously you want shit to be able to match up and repeat and connect to each other. As you see, I right-clicked and I went to assign. There's generally like 2 or 3 materials that you're ever going to use. There's like a shitload in here, but most of them don't work in video games. Lambert is your general like matte, like no reflection. It will have like the lighting effect where like rounded surfaces are brighter on the side with the light and shit like that. But it doesn't have any actual reflection of the light or reflection of any geometry around it. Blinn does have reflection, but works the same way as Lambert shader pretty much. Anisotropic is same thing as Blinn but higher quality, and you can control the reflection a lot more. And Fong I've never really fucked with, but I'm pretty sure it's generally the same as Blinn, but I think you can control like lighting of the reflection or like the color of it or something like that. Can't. I went to Blinn just to be retarded. After you add the texture, this window will show up. You can control the color by clicking here, but all these buttons along here you can add different kinds of math or files to the. So for your actual visual texture file, you want to put it into the. You just click the button once, it comes up with this menu, and then you click File. If you have a PSD file with multiple layers, or a PSD file in general, you have to click PSD file. I don't know why, but just go to File. Choose your text. Fucking bullshit. I don't even remember which one's good, so fuck it, I'm just going with the second one. Ooh, that looks like shit. If you go to this Place 2D Texture section, you can control how the texture works in the UV map, which isn't the UV map itself, it's what the texture will appear like in one square of the UV map. And for an example, this surface right now is one square on the UV map. Just gonna leave that down there for a second so I can show you what it looks like after I do that. If you lose your menu and you're not on the texture shit, like where you added your file, all you have to. What I want to do, since this is like 1 or 2 tiles wide in this whole fucking giant thing, I want to repeat the texture more than is done there. I'm gonna do it 8 by 8 times. Now, when you do this, if you have a normal map or a specular map or any other texture that you're going to use, you're going to want to remember how many you put in the repeat. You're going to generally want to remember everything in here. Not reflective at all. Alright, now that the texture's in there, I'm going to chuck some stupid random ass geometry in there just to show a real reflection and make sure there's a I just clicked Control plus D to duplicate that shit. Oh right, I should probably explain the view controls. I've been using them the whole fucking time. Hold Alt and normal click for view rotation. Right click for zoom, and middle mouse button for like whatever the fuck you call it. Like that doesn't look. Point light is a light like in fucking Half-Life 2, just light. It like works in a ball as usual. You don't want to click cast shadows. I know you're not using Maya for modeling, but in general you'd never want to use those because it's depth map shadows, which is like Half-Life 2, instead of like modeling shadows, which is ray casting, like the models used in Half-Life 2 as opposed to the map. Intensity, just like for everything else, is fucking so random. You don't want to do the create shadows because you can actually turn the shadows on after you create it with what the fuck? My tool menu completely fucking. Like, look at this shit. Oh, there we go. Make some sick shadow. Fucking deselect you. Okay, first I'll render it with the shitty software so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, that's with shitty software. Something looks off. I have presets made, but I'm not going to use them just so you can see how to fuck with this shit. This is where you choose what camera is going to be rendered, which you won't even be worrying about that anyway, so use a preset here, fuck it. Use HD 1080, then it sets it to like 1920 by 1080, blah blah blah. All this shit is basically just how the image works. Don't even worry about anything else. You can choose between I've tried fucking with Mental Ray a bit. Doesn't really work that well as Maya software. The Maya hardware, I'm guessing that's like the developer versions of video cards. Like, I don't even remember what the fuck they're called. Like, they used to be called the Quadro or the Quattro or some shit like that. And yeah, we definitely don't have those. So, quality, put it on 3D motion blur. You don't have motion blur, don't worry about it. Anti-aliasing will be on highest quality. You can set these higher than the sliders by putting them. I put them really high. I know. It takes way longer to fucking render, but it looks way better, so I don't give a shit. As I said before, ray tracing. Default, the sliders are on 1, I think, but I put them all the time. They might default be on 10. I can't fucking remember. But as I said, you can put them higher with the number. You can try it like this, and as you know, I haven't done anything to lights for shadows. I don't know if it works without doing anything to lights. So let's. By default, this whole view is like off. As you can see down here, the zoom level is 0.9111% or some shit like that. Click this 1:1 button to set it to a 1:1 ratio. Then you can actually see the pixels for what. Hold Alt and use any of your mouse buttons, I think, to move the fucking shit around. Looks pretty sick, but for some reason, there are no goddamn shadows coming from that thing. So I'm going to set the raycasting on for the light itself. See if that affects it. Yeah, that shit totally disappeared off my screen. Those are the depth map shadows, which you do not. This is what you want. Don't know if the light radius is necessary, we'll see in a second. When you do this red shit, it will only render the shit in red. So you can actually compare. Right. You can only really compare shit if you're using the same camera. Dumbass. that looks sick. It works, and I'll do a full render with without fraps on. And yeah, if you need to know anything else, obviously